So, back from the VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Hearthflame Ogerpon. They really gave us another Zacian Pokemon, giving a free +1 attack boost when you go for your Terra, while stacking with your Terra Fire boost that now means your Ivy Cudgel Loco's everything. That's so strong. Like, Ogerpon-Hearthflame does so much damage. You need to be able to get some kind of damage mitigation going against this, usually Intimidate. Otherwise, this is able to OHKO most of your team. And you get really good coverage as well. Like, obviously you're going to have Ivy Cudgel with your fire type attacks. Grass is good coverage with fire as well. There's going to be a couple of things like dragons that you don't hit very well. But if you can cover them, the coverage is fine. Stomping Tantrum is able to hit other fire types, because fire is also resisting both grass and fire, so this is able to cover that quite nicely as well. Incineroar is going to be able to be hit super effectively by Stomping Tantrum. You'll be able to OHKO things like Lemoras that would have resisted your Ivy Cudgel quite nicely as well. Raging Bolts that would have resisted Ivy Cudgel and Woodhammer gets hit by Stomping Tantrum super effectively, so it is a very nice coverage option. You're just going to be blasting through with offense, so just getting that coverage is going to be very, very nice indeed. Mold Breaker was nice when Heatran was much more common. Like, being able to hit through Flash Fire is cool, but now Heatran is on the decline, so it doesn't matter as much. Therefore, just getting your own body aspect is going to be very nice as well. These are probably the best 3 coverage moves you can go for. Woodhammer is the most amount of damage you can do. Tied, but we'll get to that. But you should be Woodhammer, just to accept the recoil, because outside of your Terra, Woodhammer is the strongest move you go for, and inside of your Terra, you go for Ivy Cudgel. So this coverage is basically all you need. I think you've got everything neutrally with grass, fire, and ground. Last time I said that in one of these guides, I was completely humbled by like 10 other Pokemon that did the thing I said. So if there's a Pokemon that resists all 3 of them, then please let me know. But otherwise, here are some other moves that you can use on Ogerpon. This is not a recommended moveset. These are alternative moves to fit on Ogerpon on this one. Ivy Cudgel is guaranteed. Spiky Shield should be guaranteed. And then the other 2 moves are basically open for what you want. Horn Leech is able to give recovery. That's really nice, but will miss loads of KOs that Woodhammer would have got. Power Whip is as strong as Woodhammer, but don't, because the shaky accuracy of 85%, absolutely not worth it in the slightest. Just accept the recoil. You'll lose so many more games because you missed Power Whip than you'll lose because you took recoil from your Woodhammer. So go Woodhammer if you're going with the 120 base power grass type attack. Like, seriously, don't use Power Whip. That's reserved for Cornerstone because it kind of has to, because sturdy. Grassy Glide is definitely viable on this Ogerpon. I wouldn't have Grassy Glide on any other Ogerpons. But this Ogerpon is able to be paired with Rillaboom a lot more comfortably, because you don't actually need to get your grass coverage really with Woodhammer. Ivy Cudgel is so strong, then why not just get extra priority? So Grassy Glide is going to be very nice for that as well. And the other Pokemon, the other Ogerpon forms, don't benefit as much from Grassy Glide because they don't get an immediate attack boost, meaning their Grassy Glides are just going to be weak. So probably not worth it. Play Rough is another good way of hitting dragons. Like I did mention that Grass and Fire does not hit dragon types. Play Rough would allow you to hit for dragon types super effectively. So that is worth considering as coverage. This is also not a recommended moveset. These are status moves that you can have on your Ogerpon that are absolutely worth it too. Again, Ivy Cudgel and Spiky Shield guaranteed, and then what do you want? So Encore is really nice on Tailwind teams because you're going to be able to lock down Pokemon that are trying to protect through the turns of Tailwind. I've used Encore on my very first Ogerpon-Hearthflame and I found it very good, so I highly recommend Encore if you can find the space for it. Substitute is best on this Ogerpon, as in it's not really that great on the other Ogerpons. The Defiant Ogerpon wants to be intimidated, subs bad. Sturdy, don't want to break your sturdy, subs bad, and you just really don't have space on Wellspring. But Substitute on Hearthflame is much more beneficial because this is the Pokemon that loses the most by being intimidated, because you don't want to sacrifice your +1 attack boost. So Sub keeps it safe from when it intimidates, which is very nice as well. Swords Dance means that you seriously OHKO everything if you just get that Swords Dance. If you've got Swords Dance, that's best paired with Grassy Glide as your grass type attack, because Ivy Cudgel is basically all you need. If you've got to +3 attack, Swords Dance, and Embody Aspect, you don't need coverage. So therefore, you might as well just get priority with Grassy Glide. So Ivy Cudgel, Grassy Glide, and Swords Dance would be very reasonable to go for if you're going with Swords Dance set. Obviously, Follow Me is also a good move. Like, it's right at the end here. That doesn't mean it's definitely last but not least kind of thing. Follow Me is absolutely great on every single Ogerpon, for sure. But do you drop the coverage of Stomping Tantrum so that you can, but now you're walled by fire and dragon types? Do you drop Woodhammer? Because that's still pretty reasonable. Now you're not hitting water types super effectively, but at least you're still hitting them neutrally with Stomping Tantrum. Like, it's very reasonable to drop your grass type attack on this Ogerpon. Like, fire is the strongest thing you can go for in your Terra, and ground is better coverage than grass is. So dropping your grass move is the most viable on this Ogerpon. I would absolutely have a grass move on every other Ogerpon, but Hearthflame can get away with it because Embody aspect giving you a +1 attack boost on top of your Terrifier. Ivy Cudgel is coverage in itself, basically. So this EV spread as well. Every Ogerpon seems to have this attack stat. I can't remember what it does. Like, I know it hits the 11N, but it does something more than that. It actually does some important KO that I've long forgotten. It outspeeds Glamora, so I think that that's pretty important to be able to get a Stomping Tantrum off, because otherwise they're just Meteor Beam you, and then the rest conveniently just ends up being max HP, which is quite nice. But because Ogerpon is super offensive, there is nothing wrong with just going for 252, 252, outspeed everything. If you seriously need to outspeed a Ninetales, then go for it, and keep in mind that this underspeeds something like Landorus, so if you've gone for your Terrifier, Landorus is going to blow you back with an Earth Power. But otherwise, if you think you don't need to go to the max speed, I do recommend bulking yourself out instead. Because the longer you're on the field, the more +1 Ivy Cudgels you can fire off. So it's going to be able to do some very nice damage while still being super bulky. So yeah, this is a very, very strong Ogerpon. Is it the best Ogerpon? We're still having that debate.